Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and I'm going to do my comic reviews for the week of comics that came out on January 11th, 2012. Alright. First comic is an independent by Image, Invincible. Alright, the issue opens up with the Guardians of the Globe being defeated by a supervillain, and Dinosaurus and Invincible show up to help save the day, and they do because they're both able to beat him, and then Dinosaurus chomps the villain's head off. And of course, right when the Guardians of the Globe wake up, they immediately say that they have to arrest Invincible and Dinosaurus, but Invincible and Dinosaurus get away. And then it cuts to Mark going back and meeting with Eve. Sorry, a bug. And anyways, Mark goes and meets with Eve, and he tells her about what he's been doing with Dinosaurus and about how he's the reasons behind this. And he also tells him that he still fully doesn't trust Dinosaurus because, Dinosaurus is still a supervillain after all, and also hasn't told Dinosaurus about his secret identity or about Eve. And then Cecil shows up. And Cecil shows up unarmed. He just wants to know what the hell Mark's doing. And so he talks, and it's pretty much the same conversation, sort of the same conversation he has with Eve. And then Eve kind of points out that this is similar to when the Viltrumites, before the war, they offered Earth all this technology just as long as Mark would take over and rule them. And of course Mark said no. But this time it seems like the same situation, and Mark's saying yes to it. But of course, after that, Cecil gets an alert that Adam the alien's coming to the atmosphere. So Invincible goes and flies off into space, and he meets Alan and Oliver. Of course, then Alan tells Invincible all about the Scourge virus and how Nolan tried to stop them. And of course, now Invincible reacts the same way his dad did, and he gets in a fight with Oliver and Alan over the virus, and then right when Alan does gain the upper hand, the former king of the Viltrumite shows up to help Mark, and that's where the issue ends. Okay, Invincible number 87. It seems like we were having a good story arc with the whole Dinosaurus and Invincible team up. Now it's suddenly shifting to the Viltrumite Scourge virus thing. It seems a little weird, but this whole idea about the Scourge virus, and that even though Mark does have a chance to kill all the Viltrumites, which he kind of almost did in the war, but he still doesn't want to do it because he knows that it will harm the people of Earth, and he can't do that. So, like his dad, he says, so it's pretty much like a repeat fight about what happened last issue when Nolan fought Alan and Oliver, and they do almost kick Mark's ass, but then the King of the Viltrumites shows up to help Mark. I still say this is a good story, especially now that the former king knows and he's shown up to help Mark. So we don't know what this means for the whole truce Mark formed with them, the other Viltrumites, but it's very interesting, and if you have been reading this, I would still keep going with it because it's very good. Okay, now it's time. Since I had about a low number of DC comics compared to Marvel, I'm gonna review DC first, then Marvel. Okay. First of all, this shouldn't be here. This is something I was gonna bring up in my next Avenger log. Okay. First DC comic, Green Lantern number 5. Sinestro, after continuing from last issue when the Core Guardians were about to blast Sinestro with the new Green Lantern rings he created, they are unable to because Sinestro points out that the rings can't harm the creator, him. And of course, right after he explains it, Sinestro somehow takes mental control of his power battery, his lantern, and he's able to mentally will it to blast any Sinestro Corps members that's in its way and find its way back to Sinestro, and Sinestro is able to use its power to break out the science cells. And then he gives the lantern to Hal Jordan to recharge the ring he made, and now Hal's back in the action. It's pretty much the Core Guardians versus the Sinestro Corps, while Sinestro and Hal head back to the central power battery to enact Sinestro's original plan. And basically, when they get to the battery, Hal and Sinestro go inside, and Sinestro explains that he's activating the battery's survival mode, which means that This will shut down all the yellow rings, and it will also put every single member of the Sinestro Corps into a brain-dead coma. So, they get inside the battery, they activate the survival mode, and all the Sinestro Corps members are knocked out and depowered. And when Sinestro leaves Korugar, and after the battle, though, Sinestro's the woman he spoke with at the beginning of the issue, crap, I should have written her name down, says that pretty much the citizens of Sinestro of Korugar still aren't entirely changed about Sinestro. I mean, some kids were starting to warm up to the idea, but Sinestro told them that he doesn't deserve their praise, and they warned him that if he ever comes to Korugar again, he'll be considered an enemy and executed. And so while Sinestro is hauling the central power battery and the imprisoned Sinestro Corps men back to Oa, he pretty much tells Hal that he's ordered Hal's ring to send him back to Earth, and it only has enough power to get him to Earth. And then Hal says, "Wait, you said I get to keep the ring," and then Sinestro pulls a major bitch move and tells him that, "Yeah, you can keep the ring, but I didn't say anything about giving you a lantern to charge it." Ha! So Sinestro flies off to Oa. Hal goes back to Earth. And right when Hal gets back to Earth, he's thinking, okay, I need to find a lantern quick. I need to recharge this. It's what I only really want. And then Hal starts to think about it, and then he goes and meets with Carol. And he tells Carol about how when his ring was low on power, he made one last construct, and it was of her, and that he wants to renew their relationship. And she feels the same way. So Hal and Carol are back together. Yay! But he's no longer a Green Lantern. Yet. And while Sinestro puts all the corpsemen in prison in Oa, the Guardians are speaking in their little chamber of solitude, and they now agree that they're going to free the first Lantern, and they're to lead their new third army to defeat the Green Lantern Corps. Okay. I still say this was definitely a total... Okay, this was a great issue, especially when we got to after the whole event on Korugar, where Sinestro has defeated the Yellow Lanterns, and now he told Hal Jordan about their deal, and he pulled that major, I don't know, I want to say it's a bitch move, but it just seems so much like Sinestro, because that's the thing he would do, and that's something we all should have expected when he told Hal that he would give him a power ring. Somehow Sinestro was either going to maybe control Hal with it, or just maybe shut it down or something. And so Hal still has a power ring, but he doesn't have a source to charge it. And before you say anything about his original power, about Hal Jordan's power battery, I'm not sure if he still has it, okay? The Guardians probably took it, or other Green Lanterns came and they took it. But, yeah. I don't think Hal has it anymore. And then, and again, it's nice that Hal got back together with Carol. That was nice. And we still get some evidence here about the Guardians getting ready to turn on the Green Lanterns. And I think that's going to lead to something that Jeff Johns has planned, where it's going to be the Guardians versus the Green Lanterns, and pretty much the Green Lanterns are going to get rid of the Guardians, and they're going to run things from now on. That's a high possibility, I think. Yeah, Green Lantern's still very cool. Jeff Johns really does write a great character, is really the perfect writer for Sinestro, as well as Hal Jordan. I would definitely say pick this up. Okay, now for the last DC comic. Superboy, number 5. Side note, this issue takes place right before Teen Titans number 5. Okay? It takes place right before Superboy goes to New York City and fights Wonder Girl. Okay, so basically what happens is Superboy, he's training at Nowhere. Then he speaks to Rose Wilson about what happened to Caitlin Fairchild, and then then later, as people from Nowhere are moving, have Caitlin in prison, and they're getting ready to move her to something called the Colony. Superboy shows up in disguise. I mean, he's not wearing his special Nowhere suit. It's like he's just wearing a black suit and a hood. It kind of looks like, I want to say it looks like Anakin Skywalker. But I could be wrong. But I don't think that's an accurate description. Anyway, Superboy shows up to the car carrying Caitlin, and he pretty much defeats all the soldiers, and he breaks Caitlin out of prison, and he meets with someone who I think Caitlin Fairchild was working for, and Superboy somehow gives Fairchild over to him. And I think it's implied, though, with the whole conversation Superboy had with the mysterious persons, that now he's going to join their side, but he's now acting as a double agent. Basically, he's still in Nowhere, but he's a double agent, and he's probably going to do this to bring Nowhere down. And we get a little more info known about the villain we saw in the first 2 issues, Templar. Apparently, he has some sort of power to create some shadow creatures to kill people. That's just one, I guess, of his. That's so far what we know about him, is his superpower to create shadow people. But Superboy still does the right thing in this issue. I mean, it feels like the character started off as just some sort of, science experiment gone wrong, but now he's slowly starting to move into a good guy. It's slow at first. I mean, last issue he realized he could use his powers for good. Now he's starting to realize that, he could probably do a lot more good if he wasn't working for Nowhere. And he's really starting to suspect that Nowhere are the bad guys, so now I guess he's a double agent, I suppose. I mean, that's the impression I got with this issue. That Superboy pretty much saved Caitlin Fairchild, and now he's, sort of leaning towards the good guy side. But I still feel like this is definitely a slow-moving story. I'm still not so... And like I said, this one takes place right before Teen Titans, so I don't know why... Teen Titans number 4, so I don't know why they had to, release this one before Teen Titans, but still, I wouldn't say that I won't really highly recommend this. I mean, I'll probably start recommending this once Superboy gets out of Nowhere and becomes his own hero, but for now, though, I'd say if you are a Superboy fan, you should still read, diehard Superboy fan, then read it, but if not, if you're more of a casual fan, then you may want to hold off on this for a while until it gets a little better. So we know for sure that Superboy is actually being a good guy, not part of Nowhere. Okay, now it's time for Marvel, and I'm going to start off with Captain America number 7. Alright, issue starts off with Agent Bravo starting to fight in prison, and now he's moved to solitary confinement. Not sure why. And also back at Avengers Mansion, Steve Rogers is still getting checkups from Beast to make sure he's fine, and a little later he reveals to Sharon that at one point he did shut down the super soldier serum by himself, like without science or magic, because he was in a state of shock. So that might be something that could, play into future stories or something. And then another riot breaks out because of another mad bomb, and Sharon and Cap find the Serpent Squad getting ready to rob a bank, and the issue ends right when they're about to fight. This is, I don't know, I mean, it's really boring. I'd say that other than the whole thing about Cap mentioning that he somehow shut the serum off by himself by being in a state of shock without any kind of assistance, is just the only interesting thing you learn in this issue. Other than that, it's just, I don't know, a little dull. That's really all I can say about this. Hopefully the next issue will be better, but for now, if you don't have the money, then you could probably skip this issue. Okay, now for another Marvel. Incredible Hulk, number 4. Dr. Banner has just stole liquid forms of gamma radiation. It's basically like this liquid that emits the same radiation as gamma radiation, and apparently it's good for creating Hulk monsters or building bombs. And of course, Banner, he's still trying to figure out another way to become the Hulk, and he can't do it. He's been injecting himself with tons of radiation, been around tons of radiation source, exposing himself to the radiation, and nothing's changing him. Nothing at all. It's been creating tons of these Hulk mutant animals, but nothing's been happening to him. Anyways, when Hulk arrives with the team of with the mad scientist killing team of Amanda Von Doom, no relation to Doctor Doom, they get attacked by giant gamma-sized bats, which suspiciously look like man bats from DC Comics. They look like green man bats. That's what the gamma powered bats look like. I'm just pointing that out for you. Then Hulk makes his way to Banner's lab, and he talks to Banner, tries to talk some sense to Banner, but Banner pretty much, rebuttals, saying that maybe about whether or not Hulk really was his rage or not, or his sanity or something. And it's I can't really go into much detail about the conversation, but it's very well written. And then, right when Hulk gets ready to grab Dr. Banner and strangle him, somehow Dr. Banner puts on some glove, and that gives him super strength enough to knock Hulk I'd say about 30 yards away. And then Banner gets his weapons and gets ready to fight the Hulk. So yeah, this was pretty much Hulk versus Banner, the verbal edition. We're gonna actually see the physical challenge next issue. So, all right, Hulk number 4. Basically, this sets up the entire fight for Hulk versus Dr. Banner, and again, there are some very interesting conversations going on between Hulk and Dr. Banner now that they're separated. If you're a Hulk fan, you should definitely check this out. And if you always, have been curious about, what would it be like if the Hulk and Dr. Banner were separate beings, then, I would definitely recommend the story arc, because that's one of the things, because that was something, I don't know, it's still a very interesting story arc about Hulk and Dr. Banner being two separate beings, because they've just been separated. We still don't know how, though, but I think somewhere along I think 2 issues away from, I guess, everything being revealed to us. So, I'd say if you've been following the story, and you're still with it, you should stay with it just until you get some answers, and then decide whether or not you want the series. Wolverine the X-Men, number 4. Alright, this opens up with apparently some scene that runs parallel with Uncanny X-Force number 19, with Wolverine telling Kitty and Beast about X-Force and what he's been doing, and he also shows them the clone of Apocalypse that Phantom X made that's now going by the name Genesis, and also the revived Warren. Okay, so what happens is basically both Warren and Genesis are now enrolled in the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. Basically, for Genesis, once he's enrolled, some kids talk and say that he does look a little like Apocalypse, and he really does feel a little mixed results here, going to the school. And when they do have a class taught by Deathlock about the future, about time traveling from the future and everything, and Deathlock's kind of giving them the percentage about what's going to happen to their lives and stuff. When he gets to Genesis, he just remains silent and then leaves. Then later, when Genesis talks to Deathlock about the future, Deathlock kind of has a vision of the future with future X-Men consisting of Brew. I don't think they're all on here, but there's a future set of X-Men consisting of Kid Gladiator, Brew, Iddy, and Quentin Quire, and they're saying that the mansion's in ruins, and that apparently the little kid Genesis has become Apocalypse, and the world's doomed. And then, of course, though, the kid still hasn't officially is still not feeling comfortable at the at the Jean Grey school. And also, we get more interactions with Warren as Iceman pretty much tries talking to Angel about what happened to him, and Iceman pretty much learns that Warren doesn't remember a thing, and he doesn't even remember his name is Warren. He keeps calling himself Angel. So basically, Bobby goes to Logan, and he tells him that he's taking full responsibility for Warren now, and Logan agrees. So now they officially enroll. Now Warren is officially a student at the Jean Grey School. Oh yeah, and also when Deathlock talks to Logan about Genesis being the clone of Apocalypse, Logan tells him that the reason he took the kid to the school is because the kid deserves the chance to plot his own course in life rather than just being told that, he's the heir to Apocalypse and stuff. That the kid needs to make his own decisions. That's pretty much very Wolverine of him. And the final page and the final sort of pages of this issue reveal that Kitty Pryde is pregnant. Now, who is the father? We do not know. In fact, we're probably not even sure that the thing growing inside her is human at all. Okay. Well, Wolverine and the X-Men, this issue sort of serves as a tie into X-Force. This is what this is. It's really more of a tie into X-Force. I mean, if you have been reading Uncanny X-Force, then this would be the perfect sort of tie-in issue for Wolverine and the X-Men. In case you've been curious about the title, you can kind of read this, see, how you like it. And I have been reading the X-Force, and I've just been collecting the hardbacks of Uncanny X-Force, so I've just gotten to the first half of the Dark Angel saga. I mean, the second half's supposed to come out in April or March. I don't know, sometime in the spring, so I'll probably check it out then. But still, Wolverine and the X-Men is still a great issue. It's definitely sort of it's kind of lighthearted, but it's lighthearted and fun, but it can still be pretty serious. So, if you like Wolverine and you like the X-Men, then I would definitely recommend this book. Alright, now for Amazing Spider-Man 677. I want to point out one thing, though. This issue is not written by Dan Slott. It is written by the current writer of Daredevil, Mark Waid. And this is the first part of a team-up with Daredevil, which is being written by Mark Waid, and the first part is told right here in Amazing Spider-Man, while the second part is told in next week's issue of Daredevil. Okay, so after Spider-Man... Okay, so Peter Parker's walking the streets, feeling depressed about being alone while seeing so many other happy couples. He decides to do a little web slinging. He runs into Black Cat, and after some flirting though, Black Cat goes back to her apartment alone. And when she gets there, she does notice a spider tracer on her costume. Then suddenly, police bust into her apartment and say she's under arrest. The next morning, Peter discovers that there was a break-in at Horizon Labs, and what was stolen was a phone that can project holograms over a Wi-Fi network, and which is a big deal for Horizon Labs. And apparently there's been a security camera caught Black Cat stealing the phone, last night, which was weird because Peter notes that Black Cat was with him when he was Spider-Man, so he knows something's up. And Spider-Man goes and finds Matt Murdock and tells him that he wants to meet him somewhere in the city later to discuss this. And so Matt Murdock dresses up, gets on his Daredevil costume, meets with Spider-Man, and Daredevil agrees to sort of defend Black Cat in court to get her name cleared for this. Although it is known she's a thief, just to get her out of this particular crime. So, while Spidey and Daredevil first recommends though that they go see the inventor of the device that was stolen so that they know to get some evidence together. And on their way, Spider-Man does see the inventor being held to gunpoint by several masked gunmen, and Spider-Man says to Daredevil, "Okay, they're over here. We have to be careful." And Daredevil says, "Wait, what are you talking about? What's going on?" And Spider-Man says, "Okay, I know you're..." Spider-Man's like, "Okay, are you serious? I mean, why can't..." Wait a minute. And then Spider-Man realizes that those guys are just holograms because Daredevil has radar senses which can pick up almost anything, and it's pretty much the way Daredevil can see since he's blind. But since Daredevil didn't sense anything, Spider-Man figured out, oh, geez, that's a hologram, and they did steal a hologram projector after all. So they try to find out where the projection came from. That leads them to an abandoned sewer tunnel. But right when they get down there, the tunnel collapses, and then when Spider-Man's climbing out, he accidentally grabs an electrical cable, and standing before him is the Black Cat. And that's where the issue ends. I want to say that this is a very nice sort of team-up with Daredevil, okay? I mean, next to the Human Torch, Daredevil is probably Spider-Man's frequent partner in crime fighting, I guess. Yeah, they do. I think, other than the Human Torch, Daredevil and Spider-Man have teamed up a lot of times, and this pretty much does show, like, and the dialogue between the two characters right when they're discussing, Matt Murdock defending Black Cat in court, it kind of shows off how good of friends they are, and also, the whole radar sense thing where Spidey realizes that they're that the men holding the guy hostage are holograms. That was really hilarious and very funny scene that you should check out. And I think this is a great chance for readers of Amazing Spider-Man to give Daredevil a chance, and if people who've read Daredevil haven't read Amazing Spider-Man, then they could give this series a chance. I mean, granted, it's written by Mark Waid, but still, this, for some readers like me who haven't read the new Daredevil yet, although I plan to once the hardback comes out, this is also a great chance to sort of, sample the series before actually giving it a shot. And again, part two of the story will conclude next week in the new issue of Daredevil number 8. So, I'm looking forward to that, and this is still a great part 1. Great team up with Spider-Man and Daredevil. I would definitely recommend it. Okay, now for something I know people have asked me whether or not I'm going to review this when it comes out, and yeah, I am. And yeah, I got it, because this is a new series that just started. It's a result of a big story arc that happened last year, and I have been waiting a while for it, and I'm really glad it's here. Scarlet Spider number 1. Alright, so the issue opens up with Kane. Oh yeah, Scarlet Spider is Peter Parker's clone, Kane. Basically, the issue opens up in Houston, and at a port in Houston, and Kane stops a bunch of illegal trading between some bad guys. And then he discovers a crate full of people, and unfortunately all the people are deceased except for one girl, and Kane's able to get her out of there and then take her to the hospital for medical attention. And after he leaves the girl there, Kane also steals the money that was left at the crime scene, and he uses it to stay in a nice hotel for the night. I mean, just as Kane's leaving town, he decides, he's going to spend one night in Houston just to kind of relax. And while he's staying in his hotel, he reflects on his past as sort of how he started as a failed clone, then became a bad guy of Ben Reilly, then eventually he became the hero who helped Spider-Man stop Spider Island. And after that, though, Kane decides to, he still, at the beginning of this issue, he still has that, long-haired, bearded look that he usually sports. And he decides now it's time for a change, and he kind of shaves his beard off and gives himself a crew cut so he looks like a short-haired Peter Parker. And the next morning, Kane does do some web slinging, and he does see an old lady crossing the street, and she's about to get hit by a truck. So Kane runs in, but instead of grabbing the lady and bringing her to safety, he just goes in and lands right on top of the truck, crushing it. And the lady's like, "Oh, thank you for saving me." And he just yells at her and says, "What were you thinking, crossing the street without looking both ways? Were you insane?" And then he looks over again, and the driver of the truck that he crushed flew out of the window and got shredded and really got cut up bad because of the glass. And Kane flees the scene, and he just kind of thinks to himself how he's not really a hero, and why he had to save that lady, because throughout the issue, Kane keeps telling himself that he's not a hero. He just wants to be left alone and finally have some freedom in his life. And later at the hospital, the girl that Kane saved is suddenly attacked by some big sort of pyrokinetic supervillain. We don't know who he is. He just shows up, and apparently he has pyrokinetic abilities which causes explosions. Actually, I think that better classification would probably be combustion powers. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, and also a side note of this series. First of all, Kane does not wear this costume at all during the first issue. There's not even, on the last page, it shows him leaving town with two duffel bags. He's not even, going to swing into action. So that gives me some incentive to stick around for the next issue to learn when Kane's going to wear this costume. Also, where did the suit come from? That's something I have to ask. Is it the Sonic suit modified, or is it just the new costume in general? I mean, that's something I want to know. And also we learned that Kane has a power set that's different than Peter's, because for one thing, Kane has a lot of the powers Peter Parker had as a result of the story arc before Brand New Day known as The Other, where Peter gained organic webbing and stingers, which were pretty much spikes shooting out of his arm that you saw Kane use at the end of Spider Island. And Kane has all those powers, but here's something interesting. Kane does not have a spider sense, at all. I mean, he's just one scene, he's standing on a rooftop and suddenly a crow caws and he freaks him out because he's like, wait, I didn't get any warning about that. I don't have a spider sense at all. So, we've learned that Kane has a lot more powers than Peter. He doesn't need web shooters, which is great. I love the organic webbing because that way you don't have to have, Spider-Man, you don't have to worry about him being, mid-battle going, oh crap, I don't have any webs. What do I do now? And also, the whole lack of spider sense, I kind of think that's a good idea for Kane because I think it has said that he did have a super strong spider sense that enabled him to see the future, but now he doesn't have a spider sense at all. And I think that's very interesting considering that at the end of Spider Island, Peter's spider sense was restored. Okay, but Scarlet Spider, yeah, this is definitely a great Kickstarter issue because Kane is a different spot. Right now, I can tell from this issue that Kane is definitely a different spider hero than Spider-Man, because one thing is that they definitely fight crime in different styles. I can definitely tell because Peter, he's more of a science guy, a thinker, a strategist who has tons of gadgets like his web shooters and his array of new suits that he developed at Horizon. Kane, however, is more of a physical type. I mean, he's really more of a guy that hits first and asks questions later. And I think giving Kane the organic webbing is a good idea because I don't think he's as inventive as Peter, so he probably won't have his own web shooters unless he built this suit by himself and the suit has some abilities that we're not aware of yet. I still want to know what the hell the suit is, and the suit and Kane, how Kane finally decides to be a hero are just one of the many reasons why I'm definitely going to read the next issue of this series, because this is a great kickoff, and I'm really happy that the Scarlet Spider is back. Alright, so that concludes my reviews for this week. Counting down, Scarlet Spider #1. Great start to start off this series. Can't wait to see how Kane finally decides to put on the mask. Amazing Spider-Man 677. I really did like this issue. It's great to see Daredevil and Spidey teaming up again, and I can't wait for the conclusion of the story taking place in Daredevil next week. Wolverine and the X-Men #4. Still a fun series, although this issue does tie into a lot of the stuff that happened in X-Force. I think Uncanny X-Force readers are definitely going to like this issue, and hopefully they can, start picking up the series. Incredible Hulk #4. Now that the verbal contest of the Banner versus Hulk fight is concluded, we can finally see them punching each other. Captain America #7. Not very significant for this story arc. Just one little important thing about Steve going to shock once and losing his powers. Nothing really happens in here. Superboy #5. Superboy has freed Dr. Caitlin Fairchild, and now it appears he's now a double A. He's working for Nowhere just to take him down. Green Lantern #5. Sinestro and Hal have freed Korugar, but Sinestro has taken away the charge in Hal's ring. What's Hal going to do now, and what are the Guardians planning? Invincible number 87. Now it seems like Invincible. The Viltrumites are starting to fight with Invincible to stop Alan from destroying them and possibly the human race. What's going to happen next? We don't know. Still a great story. Okay, that concludes my comic reviews for this week. Stay tuned because after I make this video, I'm going to probably make another Avengers log just to make a little update about what's happening here for me. So, Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.